I decided to do my project on Michael Weber and Scott Neustadter and how they left their fingerprints on their screenplays. Since 500 Days of Summer was released in 2009, Michael Weber and Scott Neustadter have been in high demand. Their unique writing style and the way they broke the chains of the typical love story was received well by the industry and the audience. 500 Days of Summer, The Spectacular Now, and The Fault in Our Stars have been some of Weber and Neustadter's most successful films. Since writing the script for The Spectacular Now and The Fault in Our Stars, Weber and Neustadter have been asked to do other book adaptations in the near future. Their next film is the adaptation of the book Paper Towns by John Green. Scott Neustadter came upon Michael Weber when he hired him to be his development intern in 1999. They began to write short comedic scripts in their spare time and ended up writing the story that is 500 Days of Summer, a script based on a past relationship of Scott Neustadter's. Fox Searchlight Pictures picked up and appreciated the new twist on what they claim is not a love story, which is what the narrator states in the beginning of the film. From there, the duo was asked to write the Pink Panther 2, and they created their own television show, Friends with Benefits, for NBC. A couple of their other works include Underage, a script that was picked up but never produced, and Friends with Benefits, a TV show for NBC that aired in 2011, but was canceled after only one season. It does have similar introductions to 500 Days of Summer. This allows the audience to know the time of day it is that the events are occurring. Neustadter came up with the structure for 500 Days of Summer after watching 32 short films about Glenn Gould, which is 32 different instances. They're little short films about one idea. Cameron Crowe, John Hughes, and Woody Allen are Michael Weber and Scott Neustadter's main inspirations because, as Mr. Neustadter says, they told stories about people and relationships, and it sort of came from a real place and made these movies intensely personal, and yet everyone can relate to them. While they have mostly adapted books for the screen, they have asked to do work on these specific projects because of their love for these unique stories, both in content and structure. So, quick summary of 500 Days of Summer. It is a film about a boy, Tom, who falls head over heels in love with a girl, Summer, who doesn't believe in love. They date but don't put a label on it, so when Summer decides that her and Tom have run their course, he believes he'll never get over her. After awkward run-ins with Summer that make him think they could get back together, he finds out Summer is off the market. Tom copes in many different ways, but someone finally makes him realize that Summer wasn't the girl for him. And a quick sum up of The Spectacular Now. The Spectacular Now is about a high school boy named Sutter who uses alcohol as his way to avoid getting hurt. After getting broken up with by his girlfriend, he runs into Amy, who has similar hardships but is selfless and kind. At first, Sutter tries to use Amy as a way to get back together with his ex-girlfriend, but he eventually falls for her. Amy says she'll stand up to her lazy mother if Sutter stands up to his mother, who has been hiding the whereabouts of his alcoholic father. Sutter and Amy obtain his father's contact information and go to see him. After casual chit-chat at a bar, Sutter's father ditches them to drink with his friends. When home, Sutter pushes Amy away. He doesn't even say goodbye before she leaves for college. After he realizes that he doesn't have to turn out like his father, he applies to colleges and tries to turn his act around. This includes going to Amy's school and surprising her as she's walking out of class. The Fault in Our Stars is about a girl named Hazel who has cancer. She meets Augustus, who also has cancer, and they grow close very quickly. After Hazel recommends her favorite book to Augustus, he uses his Make-A-Wish to have them go to Amsterdam to meet the author. They come to discover that he's nothing but a drunk, and they go out to explore the city anyway. After a long day, Augustus tells Hazel that the doctors found more tumors all over his body. But they go home, and they try to make the most of the time that they have left together. After Augustus is rushed to the hospital, Hazel tries to help him enjoy his last few days. Not long after, Augustus passes away. A couple hours after his funeral, Hazel learns that Augustus will always be with her. So there are some similarities in the characters of each of these films. Sutter, the male lead in The Spectacular Now, and Hazel, the female lead in The Fault in Our Stars, have some very similar characteristics. Sutter is a high school boy with a drinking problem who, once he realizes he's fallen in love, believes that he is not a good influence on his girlfriend. Hazel, a teenage girl who has cancer, tells Augustus, her boyfriend, right off the bat that he shouldn't want to be with her, that she'll die someday, so there's no point. Each of the main characters' significant others refuse to leave them, and they help them through the terrible times. So there are similar themes of love, loss, and moving on in each of the three films I've been discussing. In 500 Days of Summer, Tom loses Summer, but he manages to move on and realize that everything will be alright. In The Spectacular Now, Sutter loses his girlfriend and his father, and both are out of his life forever. Sutter sees that he is better off without them because he has changed into a person he is proud of. In The Fault in Our Stars, the cancer catches up to Augustus and he passes away. While Hazel is sad to have lost someone she loves, he left a piece of him with her in a letter, and she knows he'll never truly be gone for her. These films do actually have some similar endings as well. Each main character loses someone. Although these special people are out of their lives forever, the characters have overcome the loss and have learned something about themselves. These situations have given them strength and have allowed them to appreciate the time they have had together. Michael Weber and Scott Neustadter transferred these relatable characters and themes into a script and gave such a believable and authentic tone to the story. So there are differences in each of these films as well, but these are also ways that Michael Weber and Scott Neustadter have left their fingerprints on them. Each of these films are geared towards multiple age groups, teens who are around the same age, and also an older audience. Each script has sad events, heartbreak, alcoholism, and cancer. However, Weber and Neustadter do not make these situations completely tragic. The stories are about the characters and living life and moving on. The tragedy is not what the story is about. The Fault in Our Stars is not a story about a girl and a boy who have cancer, but it is about a boy and a girl who fall in love and she loses him due to cancer. Weber and Neustadter take certain situations that may be uncommon in someone's life and make it relatable by not having it be the main focus. While these are personality traits of the character, it is as if they are used as a second plot in the stories in order to serve the wants of the audience and create a connection to the characters. The dialogue of each of these scripts is also very organic and natural. They feel and sound like real conversations that real people are having. There are elements in the dialogue such as awkward pauses in the conversation, not hearing what someone said, and nervously talking over one another. The dialogue is fresh and appealing and creates a feeling of closeness and relatability towards the characters. Michael Weber and Scott Neustadter have stated that they prefer to write the truth and that the writing should be real. The endings of the films are also something that the writing duo was picky about. As Mr. Neustadter has said in an interview with the New York Times, "You can put a book down any time and take an emotional break, but you can't do that with a movie. The end needed to be a little less bleak. We're allergic to happy endings, but we'll always go for a hopeful one." So there are certain fingerprints that the writing duo has also left on the 500 Days of Summer film. The story jumps around from good days to bad days in the main characters' relationship. While the scenes are not in chronological order, the flow of the film still makes it easy for the audience to immerse themselves into the story. For example, one scene may be day 54 and the next may be day 3. That day 54 scene may be a terrible day in their relationship, and then day 3, he may have not known her yet. Each scene relates to one another because in the first one, Tom may say what he loves about Summer, and in the next, he's telling us everything he dislikes about her. So they have also left their fingerprints on The Spectacular Now and The Fault in Our Stars. In The Spectacular Now, Sutter goes to see his dad who doesn't want anything to do with him. He has an appropriate reaction for the moment and pushes his girlfriend away, but they don't linger on the argument between Sutter and Amy. In The Fault in Our Stars, Augustus tells Hazel that his cancer has worsened and they know he won't make it. However, the characters don't waste too much time on feeling upset. Michael Weber and Scott Neustadter wrote these and other scenes in a way where we get to see the scene, see what needs to be seen, and then they let us out. Although these are terrible situations, the tone in the dialogue isn't too heavy for the audience. Each of these films has similar themes of love, loss, and moving on, and they are significant to Michael Weber and Scott Neustadter's way of writing. While every story must have low points and high points, the writing duo focuses on the truthfulness and the reality of the story. This is because they choose to write as close to reality as they possibly can without disappointing the audience. Each of these scripts also has similar tones. Although The Spectacular Now and The Fault in Our Stars are not original scripts, the writing duo has created such a special tone to the screenplay while also keeping the aspects and events of the story intact. 500 Days of Summer, The Spectacular Now, and The Fault in Our Stars all have realistic elements, and Weber and Neustadter have created an honest tone in each of these films. Although The Fault in Our Stars and The Spectacular Now are not original scripts, Michael Weber and Scott Neustadter were attracted to those types of stories because they had similar elements to their original screenplay, 500 Days of Summer. This is why they clamored to adapt these books and create them into films. Although the book's endings were accurate from print to film, the final scene of a story is something that they are insistent upon, and that is one of the major ways that they have left their fingerprints on many successful screenplays.